A little while ago, Walmart started making gateway laptops, which apparently is a kind of resurrected brand that no one really liked, so they went out of business until Acer acquired them in 2007. And I guess that Walmart decided sub-licensing a low-performance laptop brand to slap on their own low-performance laptops was a good idea. So here we are. The gateway laptops really haven't been anything worth looking at until recently because they were essentially like manila folders with keyboards. But then the other day I saw an ad for a laptop on Walmart.com with actually pretty decent specs. In fact, it had better specs than my Lenovo IdeaPad 3, which is the desktop or the laptop I use when I'm away from my desktop. And for this model specifically, we're looking at a 10th generation Intel Core i5 with 4 cores and 8 threads, so hyper-threading going on there, 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 250 gigabyte SSD, and it came at $430 on sale. And that's pretty respectable. So I figured I'd give it a try since I think that the Lenovo IdeaPad is one of the best laptops on the market right now. And right out of the box, the laptop feels pretty darn good. Walmart's done something really interesting in terms of their design. The top case is all metal, which makes it feel really premium, but the bottom case is all plastic, which you don't really notice for the most part, and I think that's really smart. As far as the I/O goes, we're looking at a Kensington lock port, if you're into that kind of thing, a barrel jack for the charger, a USB 3.0 port, a full-size HDMI, and a USB-C port on one side, and on the other side, we have another USB 3.0 port, a headphone microphone jack, and a micro SD card reader, and that's freakishly awesome for a thin and light laptop. The screen is also really nice for a 1080p 60Hz display. It's only 14 inches, so the pixel density isn't bad overall, and the contrast is really great as well, along with the viewing angles. Now, it's not super bright, all right? I wouldn't go outside with this thing, but it is pretty good for day and night performance. Also, the webcam isn't great, but you shouldn't be buying a laptop like this for the webcam anyway. Now, on the box, it says that the laptop's audio is tuned by THX, whatever that means, right? And the speakers aren't great. They're laptop speakers. They're not loud, but they're also not distorted. Like the webcam, you probably shouldn't buy this laptop for those speakers. Go ahead and take a listen. Now, the clicking on the touchpad is loud, but it feels really good, and it's fairly even across the whole pad. It comes with a fingerprint sensor, which is something I really like a lot more than I thought I would, and the tracking is really, really awesome, especially for a laptop of this grade. It's super smooth and it's super accurate. So really the only downside to this touchpad is the clicking sound. Check it out. And then there's the keyboard. The keys are awesome. Feeling pretty close, I think, to the old MacBook keyboards. So way good for this mid-range budget laptop, right? The only thing I didn't like is the fact that they felt they needed to put full-size arrow keys on the board. And that caused them to shrink the right shift key, which happens to be my primary shift key. And I think it's a pretty shifty situation. Get it? Yeah, it's a bad pun. At first, the keys seemed a little bit spread out to me, but I got used to them after not too long, and I was able to comfortably write the script for this video on this computer. Now, the computer boots just fine. The overall speed of the computer is great. The performance is what you'd expect from an i5-based computer, right? It'll run Zoom, a butt ton of Chrome tabs, and most applications you throw at it. I suspect it'll even handle some casual gaming as well if you're into that kind of thing, but I would not use this thing as a gaming laptop, even though it has a good amount of RAM. Now, I also wouldn't use this laptop as a main computer for any professional. It's great for travel and getting light work done. It's amazing as a family computer, but it would not be my go-to as far as performance goes. I would totally get this computer if you just need a computer. Like, it's good at a lot of stuff, but it's not the best at anything. So if you just need to replace an old computer, this is a pretty good bet. Maybe even the best bet you have. And now, there are a couple of things that I've noticed that I didn't really know where else to put in the review, so I decided to put them here. Number one is the branding. I'm sorry, the cube that looks like a cow is dumb. I don't know whose idea that was, but it doesn't look good. No one knows what it means, and it just kind of looks tacky. Other than that, the aesthetic is pretty spot on with the laptop. Speaking of which, this thing is heavy, right? Because the top case is all metal, this thin and light is actually just a thin, not a light. Now, I actually prefer that. The LG Gram, which is a big deal for some reason in this space, always feels cheap and like I'll break it if I look at it too hard. This is not that way. So I wouldn't use this if I were backpacking, but I wouldn't go backpacking with this laptop. Battery life is also pretty great. Now, I haven't tested it, but the battery is definitely superior to my IdeaPad 3, no doubt. I use this thing pretty casually, but I've had it for well over a week now, and it's holding a charge during moderate work for several hours, and that's pretty good for a cheap laptop. But it is pretty easy to get fingerprints on this thing. The matte black aesthetic is really awesome, but it's not fingerprint resistant at all. So keep your hands clean, fool, right? I also don't get the amount of bloatware that they added on this thing. I mean, performance is good, but it could be better if they didn't load stupid apps on there by default like Forge of Empires and Kodomi. And that's just the stuff that they've installed that I've noticed, right? I have no idea what they're running in the background. So that's pretty much it, right? Let me know if I missed anything that you would like to see in the next laptop review, which should come out probably sometime in the not too distant future. Also, do you have any questions about this laptop? I thought it was pretty good for a Walmart laptop. I didn't end up running any synthetic benchmarks like Geekbench because this computer is literally using the same processor as my IdeaPad 3. And even though performance in synthetic benchmarks is going to differ a little bit from device to device, you can assume that they'll have comparable performance overall as far as the processing and RAM power goes. And by the way, I am planning on doing a comparison video between this Gateway laptop and the IdeaPad 3, which you may be interested in. So be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss that content. I think it's gonna be really good because these are some really awesome budget-friendly laptops for this year. And lastly, if you haven't yet, hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. You literally watched this whole video, so I think I've earned it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you around.